So, here we are. We're at the engine room. And this is your first time on a submarine, so where the hell do we go from here? Well, you've got these two lovely beasts. That's your starboard side, your port side engine. And then once you go back here, you've got your electric engines right here. I've not touched these yet, so in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you primarily the diesel engines. And a few scenarios on top of that, what to do when things go wrong. And in another tutorial I'll teach you the electric side as well, on how to run your motors efficiently and make sure that essentially you've always got the speed there for your customer, which is the control room. So the first thing we're going to do is look at starting up the engine. So you've got your lovely engines here, you've got your cylinders, cylinder 1 to 6, and there's your average temperature there, and this is a telegram. So when the captain orders the speed, that's where you'd see it. So let's say for example I order full stop. You see there's a red and green light that comes on, green starboard, red's port. And what this means is that you need to acknowledge the order by moving your dial here. And there you see I've acknowledged the all stop. Up here is your compressed air level. You've got each cylinder head here and the pressure inside the cylinder, and your motor current. So if this goes to the right, it means that you're discharging. If this goes to the left, it means that you're recharging. And we'll go through that as well, and we'll cover how to use your batteries effectively and how to charge as fast as possible for the control room. So first of all, let's just the scenarios. We've just come up from a dive. We've gone up to surface the boat. So the first thing we're going to need to do here is open up your exhaust valves overhead. You're going to open up your engine intake as well. You're going to come down here and open up your starboard engine and exhaust valves. And then we just need to couple the engines together as well. And what this does is couples you with a prop shaft. So essentially these are two separate units, so you can couple and decouple the engines from the shaft. If I ran the electric engines now and the propeller was turning, it would spin the cylinders. The cylinders would move up and down because they're connected to the prop shaft, which would trip the engines. It would trip the motor. But that's something for later anyway. So we're now connected. The first thing we're going to do here, we're going to start the starboard side. Now the first thing I'm going to look for, I'm going to make sure that we've got the supercharger turned off. If it's in the down position, it's turned off. If it's up, it's in the on position. The second thing I'm going to check, I'm going to make sure that we've got compressed air available, which we do. The absolute minimum you can start this engine on is 50. So you want to always make sure you've got 50 available, and you want to make sure that the captain gives you 50 available as well. As a chief engineer, this is your room. You're in charge of this room. And if you say you can't do something, you can't do it. So what we're going to do here, we're going to open up the starter air, which you can hear. We're going to move ourselves to start on this side. We're going to let the engine start running up here. And we're going to switch to run. That is very loud. Now once we're running, we're going to turn the starter air off because we're just wasting compressor now. And as you can see, we used quite a bit there. Now we're going to run the engine up here. So here is your throttle. You've got between 100 and 500. And this is your starter lever as well. So let's say for example the engine room has just ordered diesel engines, which we'll say yes, and they order half speed ahead. Great. Well, how do we know what half speed is? Well, you've got a placard here, and this is your diesel engine speed chart. So we see the half speed is 340 RPM. It'll give us a surface speed of 12.4 knots with both engines combined. And the recharge rate here means that we can recharge the batteries. So we cannot recharge the batteries on great speed and full speed here. That would cause a trip. So what we're going to try and do now is set to 340. We're going to look at our RPM here. Now this RPM dial here is very slightly off. I like to look at this one in the back here, because this is exactly what the captain sees up in front, and so he'll be reading off this one. So we're going to head up to 300 RPM. And I'm using my W and S keys here just to move this. You get a very fine tune. A lot of people tend to use this, and you find that you don't really, you know, when you hold left click, you don't really get as accurate as you do with the W and S keys. So there's a black line here on each cylinder. This is when you can activate the compressor, or the supercharger, sorry. So the supercharger, the way I treat it is like second gear. It's your two-stroke essentially. So we've just reached the black line now. The temperatures are coming up. So what we're going to do now is activate the compressor, and you're going to notice the RPM drop. And we're going to counteract this by increasing the throttle. I'm not going to increase it too much, around 370, 380. Okay, and we're going to see here half speed is 340, so I'm going to keep this engine at 340. Now, if I just let go now and let that do its thing, the engine's going to start going up. We're going to start increasing. The reason being is because the cylinders are still warming up. So we definitely need to keep an eye on that. You don't want to go over 340, you don't want to go under it, because then the helmsman has got a bit of work to do on keeping the rudder centralised with the heading that we're going on. So we're at half speed now. We're going to let the engine warm up a bit, and at the same time I'm just going to do a very quick start on this side, so then you can see kind of how quick you can start the engines. Supercharger's off, head and start. And there we are. I'm going to bring this up to about 300 RPM, let the engine catch up. I'm just going to acknowledge the half speed on our side as well. And bring that engine up. So I'm at about 360 RPM here on my throttle, but actually I'm doing 330. It's slowly coming up. So we're going to let this warm up a bit now. We're going to start talking about the cylinders, check valves here, and the oil flow in a minute as well. So the left side is up to temperature now with what we're going to do. The next thing we're going to do is, let's say the captain orders, he orders charge batteries here. So we're going to acknowledge that. And once we've acknowledged that, we're then saying, yep, we know you want to charge batteries, now give us the next thing. So he wants to charge batteries on half speed. Great, okay. So how do we go ahead and do this? Well, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to bring, so it's a half speed here, and we still want to match 340 RPM while charging batteries, otherwise the helmsman is going to have a bit of work to do. So the way we're going to do this here is bring us up to 400, and you can hear that supercharger kicking in now. And I'm just going to double check there as well, yeah. Great. And you can already see some cylinders are out of tune here. You know, you've got cylinder 5 and 6 that are slightly higher than 4, 3. So that is something we're going to have to work on. Right now is a very bad time to tune. The reason being, you're running at half speed, you're not getting the full picture of what the cylinder's heat is at full speed. If we tuned now, the chances are we'll blow a cylinder when we go up to full speed. So the best time to tune is at full speed. We're slightly under 400 here. So I'm going to keep coming up. Great. Let's get charging the batteries, shall we? So we're going to head over to the electric room here. You can see the motor's off. The motor direction is off. The series, the motor switch is off here. And the battery switch is off as well. So the first thing we're going to do here, I'm going to close this door so I can hear, is the direction we're going right now is forward. So we're going to switch the motor into the forwards direction. The motor here we're going to run in parallel, which means that it's not going to be attached to this motor here, it's just going to be running on its own. We're going to switch the speed control to low, and the batteries, we want to charge both batteries. We want to charge both the starboard side and the port side batteries. If I run this in parallel, we just charge this side, which you can see here. So at the minute we're fully charged, but that's fine. I'm just going to show you exactly how we charge. So this is all set up now. We're running at 400 RPM. Just double check that here. Not quite. So let's run back. Now remember the engines are still warming up. 400. And we're now going to switch our motor on. And straight away, we're going to see that this dial here is showing charging. We're going to make sure that we don't come past 800 here, which we haven't. If this dial's on the right hand side, you're discharging. There's your 0. Because on the left hand side, you're recharging. The two things that you want to look at here when recharging is your battery current here, but most importantly your motor current, because as soon as this line passes that red there, you're going to blow a fuse. So you want to make sure that your motor current is not passing that red line. And as you can see now, we're steadily charging batteries. And remember, on the placard it's 340 RPM for half speed, and we're running half speed while charging the batteries. Another way you can check if you're charging the batteries as well is if you come up here, you can see your e-motor current is steadily running on the left hand side, which means that you're recharging. Great, brilliant. You can also see the cylinders here ticking. You've got our depth under the water here, and you've got the cylinder on the port side as well. So this is all the port side stuff, this is all the starboard side stuff. So the starboard engine now has warmed up. So let's turn on the supercharger, increase the throttle slightly again. There we go, not too much. And now we're going to run this one at full speed. And the reason being is because on the port side I'm going to show you how to tune the engine. So our left side is now charging at half speed. Our right side, as you can see up here, is not charging or discharging at all. And that's because we're running the motors separately. And we're not in a parallel. We're in a parallel link, not in a series link with the motor. So the starter's off, supercharger's on. The engines are coming up to temperature, and you can straight away see cylinder 5 is running very cold. Cylinder 2 is running quite cold as well. So the first cylinders that we're going to work on here is you want to work on your cylinders that are the coldest first, and then tune the hotter ones later. Ideally, to tune your engine, you want to get us up to a 580 RPM, which is on your placard here. Full speed is, sorry, 480, my bad. 480 RPM there is what we want. And you can see we're sitting at roughly 451, 452, which is not good. That's not what the control room has ordered here. So, in fact it is. Let's change that. Oh, it's this one. So full speed ahead. What we're going to do now is we're going to tune cylinder 5 and cylinder 2 here. So let's head over to cylinder 2, which is just here. The first thing we're going to do is open up the check valve, and you can see it's white smoke. It's kind of whitish bluish. That means that the oil is either running, we're running too much oil or we're running too little oil. So as you can see, the oil valve here is there. Now the more oil you add, the hotter the engine's going to go. The less oil you add, the colder the engine's going to be. So we want to open up the oil valve more to the right here, around about there. We don't want to open it too much, and I'll show you why. So cylinder 2 now, we're going to look at that. You see it's coming up nicely. And now we're going to work on cylinder 5. So cylinder 5 is this one. Again, we're just going to open up the check valve, and you see here it's running very cold. So we're going to, I'm actually going to overfeed this one, and I'm going to show you what that's going to do. So number 5 now just overfed. Oh, it seems like it didn't overfeed, and that's great. Let's overfeed number 2. Let me just whack number 2 up here. Now we've just overfed number 2, so you can see here it's not actually rising. Let me just check number 5 real quick. So cylinder number 2 is not rising at all here. In fact, it's slowly falling. And the reason being is because we've literally just doused a lot of oil in the engine. It's going to be cold oil. So this cylinder is now basically going to stick here, and your normal instinct is going to be to increase the oil, because obviously the more oil you add, the hotter the engine goes. That's actually the worst thing you can do. We can double check this by again going to cylinder 2, and you can open up here and you can see the very white smoke here. That's not what we want. We do not want white flame. That's a beautiful flame there. That's a good flame. It's still slightly white, could do better on cylinder 1. So if we now head over to the cylinder 2 valve, we're going to decrease it here. And straight away you see cylinder 2 has gone back into action and it's coming up to temperature. So cylinder 6 needs tuning, and I normally tune these engines to about 520 degrees, so that's the first line in the red. That's how I normally tune these, and I find that number's great because it gives you 580 RPM. But if the captain ever ordered both engines 10 faster, I can also provide that as well. So this engine is coming up to temperature now. We're at about 565, and you see we're still running at half speed here and charging this engine, or charging that motor. So cylinder 6 now, we're going to start running more. So we're going to increase the oil flow in cylinder 6. And what's our lowest one? Our lowest one is cylinder 3 right now. So we're going to head over to cylinder 3. And eventually you'll get very quick at doing this. You'll just know immediately what you need to do with the engine. I'm running at a slower pace right now so then you can follow along. But what I'll do is on the starboard side, I'll show you how I do a quick tune as well, without really looking, and just getting the feel of the engines. So cylinder 1 now. We've got cylinder 4 is the lowest, so we're going to move over to cylinder 4, increase that. So cylinder 6 is coming up nicely now. Cylinder 5 is going to be cylinder 2, sorry, is going to be our least one here, so let's go to cylinder 2 and increase that slightly. Now, cylinder 2 I increased a lot less than I did with the others, and that's because I've just overfed that one, so it's still going to be burning off the excess oil. Cylinder 3 and cylinder 4 and 5 can come up, so cylinder 3, 4 and 5. 3, 4 and 5. And you can see we're bringing everything up kind of nicely at the same temperature. Number 2 is still burning off the oil, as you can see. So yeah, drowning an engine in oil is a very bad thing to do, or a cylinder. It can take a while to recover, and that's what cylinder 2 is doing. So cylinder 1 now, we're going to increase that very slightly. And cylinder 2. So now if I open the valve for cylinder 6 here, you're going to see a nice beautiful blue flame, like that. That is exactly what you're looking for. That means that the oil is up to temperature, and it's nice, the engine's loving it. So what we're going to do now is, before we increase this engine, remember we're still charging, I'm just going to turn off the electric power motor here by clicking that. And you can immediately hear that the engine will start coming back up to around 400 RPM because it's not got that excess load on it. So I'm going to bring this one straight up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a fast tune now on the starboard side. The fast tunes normally take 2 to 3 minutes to do, relatively quick, but it's just about knowing where the valves are normally located and what positions. And at the same time not overdoing it. So I've just done all the valves here. We're going to come straight back and we're going to see that number 6, it's running kind of diagonal. So you've got 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 are running at the temperatures here, and they're coming up quite nicely. So number 6 I'm going to quickly bring up just a little bit more. Number 5, number 4 was ready to do as well. Great. Number 3, 2 and 1. 2 is running the lowest, so I'm just going to quickly go up to 2 here, and I'm going to check that one. Number 1 and number 3. So you can see these ones have come up nicely. Number 5 and number 4 need slightly doing. So number 5, bring that up very slightly. Number 4, very slightly as well. And number 3, 2, 1 now. So 1 and 2 are our lowest, so we're going to go 1, 2 first. 1, 2 and 3. We're going to bring up ever so slightly. And already this engine is running at 490, so you're already providing 10 plus RPM. So at that point, it's safe to say that you've tuned these engines very nicely. You see this one's providing 481, 482. That's because I've got all these just below the 1 mark, and the average temperature here is there. If the average temperature was 520 here, then that would be around about 590 would be providing, like this one here. And there you see we're nearly on the 590 mark. So that's how you do a quick tune on the starboard side and how you do a port tune as well. Okay, so the captain has now ordered a dive order. And you hear that noise. The first thing you're going to do is acknowledge, or you don't even need to acknowledge the dive really, you can do that in the other room. But we're going to do it very quick. Normally you do this extremely quickly, but you're going to close these valves immediately. All the ones on the top, we're going to decouple the engines. Do not forget this because you will break your motors here. You will trip some lights. Now let's say for example you've just tripped your electrics. Well, the first thing you got your starboard side here, and you've got your port side electrics all the way in the back here. Just there. And you can tell which side you've tripped by the lights. So if the lights on the left hand side of the submarine go out, well, then you've tripped your port side. The lights on the right hand side go out, well, you've tripped your starboard side here. So now what we're going to do, we're ready with the diesel engines. You're going to move straight over to the electric engines, and in my next tutorial I will show you guys how to operate these. And it will just be the same principle as if you've just decoupled these and you're heading over to your electric engines. So we've learned about the diesels and how we run them and how it's best to tune the engines. The next thing we're going to look at is a flooded engine. So if for any point you dive and this valve is open, that's your air intake valve. It's going to flood the engines and you're going to get this water. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open up all your valves, and I'm only going to show you on the starboard side because it's the exact same on the port side. You're going to let all that water drain out here. Brilliant. We're going to look at our compressed air levels. You can see we're sitting at 150. We're going to make sure our supercharger's turned off here. Open up the starter, and you can see here each cylinder is now kind of draining that water out. It's going to turn into steam. That's good. We want to keep it going until there's no more steam in there. So this is going to use a lot of compressed air because obviously you've got to drain this out here. So your compressed air is going to go down quite quickly. So the best thing to do is do this on one engine, start your compressor, and then work onwards. So we've got no more steam coming out of them now. Great. Well, let's turn the starter off now. Close these valves up. That's great. And now we're going to open up the starter again, put ourselves into start mode. There we are. It's going to take a little bit longer. Oh, do you know what? I've not even got my other valves open. Let's try this one again, shall we? There we go. I was missing one. And now your engine has started back up, started to go straight off. And you can see we used a lot of starter then. We used a lot of compressed air. And your engines are going to be ice cold because they've just been full of water as well. So again, you're going to look at bringing this up to about 300, letting the RPM settle, bring it to the black line, and then engage your compressor. Oh, sorry, your supercharger. Now you just want to turn your compressor as well, because the dive officer will love you forever if you do that without him asking. And that's how you deal with a flooded engine. So I'll show you on the port side just real quick as well. You can do this with all the valves open as well. Doesn't make a difference. I just like closing them because that heats the engine up a lot quicker. But as you can see here, the engine's now been drained. Again, we're going to go with the starter air. And make sure that you're on start as well, because that way the cylinders are going to turn. Going to give this another minute here just for all the steam to come out. And all the steam is now out. Turn off the supercharger and the engine starts right back up. Select run, turn your starter off. And now you can see all the pistons, all the cylinders firing together and how they synchronize it. And again, you run this back up, and that's exactly how you deal with a flooded engine. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've learned a lot, and hopefully I see you guys in my engine room after this tutorial. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Take care. Bye bye now.